Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Burrow, the FAU podcast for and by fans, brought to you by FAUAllisons.com. My name is Dan. I am joined by Shane and Jack as usual. And this week, this is episode 2 of the 2018 season. FAU coming off a somewhat disappointing loss against number 7 Oklahoma, 62-14. So tonight, we're going to kind of dig into why you don't need to panic about what happened at Oklahoma, kind of give our thoughts on the QB situation, look a little bit towards Air Force. So I guess to get started, I'll kind of talk a little bit about what my first impressions. I think that the biggest impression for me, and you guys certainly chime in when you want, is yes, I didn't think that we were going to win the game. I just wasn't quite expecting what we got. I started to believe the hype a little bit too much. I think the hype, the overhyping was what definitely played negative in our favor. And I tend to be more pessimistic in predictions and stuff like that until I see results. But even I started to believe the hype, and I think that was the first thing I think that we can kind of go over, and then we'll go from there. I don't know what were your initial thoughts on the game besides disappointment.
You can go, Jack. I'm gonna go a bit. So
it's I don't know, man. It was, I try to stay level-headed. We made our predictions. I thought mine were fair. Us losing by I think 11 or 9. Then, you fly out to Oklahoma, you see the team get off the bus, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, holy crap, we're going to do it. We're going to shock all these folks right here. And then, 10 plays in and it's 21-0, and you're wondering if, you can jump from the press box and die. So it was rough. Kyler Murray is probably one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. The dude has it all. Anderson is the real deal. The offensive line of Oklahoma could do whatever they want to us. The tackling was poor on our end. QB play, I know we're going to go into that later. It was a bit rough, especially in the first half. I'm still a believer in Chris Robison. I'm happy he got to start. I hope he gets to start again this Saturday against Air Force. But just a pretty bad day on Saturday. A pretty bad day. Thankfully, you guys were able to turn the game off if you wanted to. I was not capable of doing that, unfortunately. So that is that. What about you, Shane? What's your takeaway?
Actually, I was in a bar here in Fort Lauderdale with about 20 FAU fans, and we didn't even see the first 3 touchdowns by OU because the John McCain funeral ran late. The Fox decided not to have a backup plan. But, there was a murdering going on the other TV. But, as much as I wanted to, in leading up to the game, try and talk myself into how we were going to win this game, I couldn't come up with any legit reasons, even we'd be close. I mean, I kept thinking to myself, and I posted this, man, the last time UGA was on the field, they put 56 on Georgia. And what were we 56 on UGA? We're talking Kirby Smart, 3 first-round draft picks on defense, SEC D linemen, and they put 56 on them. And I'm sitting here thinking, we could have a good Conference USA defense and a few guys that might go in the late rounds in the next couple of years here. But, man, unless Kyler Murray is 1/10 of what Baker Mayfield was, I don't see how we even thought about keeping them under 45.
Yeah,
I couldn't map it out in my head as the FAU fan in me wanted to go the other way, but I'm sitting there looking as a college football fan. And, this morning, as someone who gambles a lot in college football, I know the Bear on ESPN said, lay the points. And I think 80% of the money was on OU. I think people knew. Like,
Yeah.
I think the preseason hype of that game, it was in the right time slot. I think all the networks wanted to talk it up, and it got us believing a little bit. And I think all the hype hurt us a little bit because I think Lincoln Riley was probably looking at his team saying, there's people out there picking FAU over you guys or saying they're going to hang close. You better watch your back. And OU and their possible 3 Heisman candidates on offense, at quarterback, running back, and receiver, and 2 All-American offensive linemen were like, yeah, let's just kind of put these people in their place. I think we walked out there. We got punched in the mouth after the block punt, and they were just, it was 7 months of hype, and we're going to do this, and we got all this returning starter and 4-star quarterback, and it was like, you're not OU.
I think the one of the things had we been able to score on that first drive, I think that would have certainly changed the game. Wouldn't have changed the outcome. We probably wouldn't have lost as bad, but I think that would have done a lot to instill confidence right away. Like you said, I think they got punched in the mouth, but I mean they blinked and it was 28-0, and it was like, all right, well now
we're
it's
not as good as we thought we were. There was just kind of a exhale. You know what I mean? And they just kind of let them roll over them the rest of the game. I thought, and for clarification, excuse me, the penalty we got called twice on is a new rule in college football this year.
Right.
If anyone's aware of it, you cannot cut past 5 yards past the line of scrimmage anymore. That's a new rule just instituted this year. I don't know if our staff just didn't get the email from the NCAA. Or it's just, something the players have to kind of get used to, and, they're in a game and they have to watch their depth a little bit, and you're excited, and maybe, you ran that extra yard and cut the guy more than you did in practice. But, that's a new rule this year. And, yeah, maybe if we score on that first drive, we build a little momentum. And, but I think after we fell down and as we kind of get into the quarterback talk, I think – and then everything you expect out of a I don't know what people expected on offense. And the genius Kendall Briles. I keep seeing this on the Nest. Oh, we're missing Kendall Briles. Like, Kendall Briles lost responsibility last year. Lane looked at him after 4 weeks and says, hey, why does Motor have like 35 carries in 4 games? I'm going to start putting my input in on play calling and game planning a lot more, and we're going to do this. And we're going to go to a more game-managing quarterback, and we're going to run the ball because that's what we're good at. But Kendall Briles couldn't figure that out in 4 weeks. So, give it some time. I think, like I said, once we got hit in the mouth, I think we didn't have a senior quarterback. We had a quarterback starting his first game at the school that kicked him out. And by the way he was throwing the ball, it looked like it. It looked like he was trying to throw every ball 100 miles an hour through receivers, ripping it. Like a closer in the bottom of the ninth. It just looked like nerves, and I just felt like, especially after he went down, he was maybe trying even harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To make the perfect pass. And
he had a couple like really nice throws.
He did.
And so we'll talk. One of the reasons I think not to panic too much is think back a year ago to Navy. This opening game of Lane Kiffin's career at FAU. FAU lost 49-19. In that game, you talk about Motor. I went back and looked, and I had to do a double take because Kareth White had the most rushing yards, and it was like 36 or 37 yards. We didn't run the ball. Like, we had a running back like Motor, and we didn't run the ball for, like you mentioned, really the first 4 weeks. And so I think that's one thing. We lost 49-19. Not a good game. Defense got run all over, kind of the same thing. And, obviously that year turned out well. And so I think that there's and we made a change at quarterback, which I don't think that we would make the change at quarterback. I think the Lane sticking with Robison for as long as he did like into the third quarter.
He doesn't have a quick hook. He showed that last year. Parr started 3 games.
Yeah, so I think that the idea is for Robison to be the quarterback moving forward for as long as possible. Now, if 3 or 4 games in and he's not cutting it, then we've got Peavy and DeAndre Johnson back there.
But do we? This is the same conversation Hurricane fans are having right now. Why don't you pull Rozier? Or maybe because an entire offensive staff sits with them in meeting and watches them in practice, looks at what's on the field, looks at what behind them, and goes, I still have more confidence in what's on the field.
Right.
We don't I just don't know where people are so quick to be like, well, Peavy's going to come in. What? I mean, you don't know. I mean, you read what the reporters are saying, but, Jake and them can only get so much information. Oh, how'd they look today? Oh, I thought they did some things good. They did some things bad. He made some nice throws out there. And so you read that, and it all sounds good, when you're sitting in your desk at 10:30 in the morning on a Tuesday in the middle of August just waiting for football season. But I thought Robinson showed some really good arm strength. He threw a really nice pass to Javon Durant. And he just missed a couple wide open guys. And I think the ones where you miss the guys that are like blatantly wide open, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's just nerves. You know what I mean? It's almost like that for a catcher, that throw from not, home plate down to second. It's that throwback to the pitcher.
Yeah.
Instead of just making the easy throw, you try and gun it. And I saw him do that a few times. And I think being down, like I said, contributed to that. He felt like he had to do more. But he didn't turn the ball over. I mean –
yeah, he didn't turn the ball over like PB did. PB before that had a really nice pass. Right on the post, led him perfectly, which Robison struggled to do. But then the very next pass, he overthrew, I think it was Willie again, by 15 yards. Wasn't even close.
I don't think he just read the safety. He just didn't see the safety just playing center field. It was almost like decided he was going to throw it there when he broke the huddle.
Right, yeah.
Well, it was terribly overthrown. So I don't know if Willie ran the wrong route. It was a bad throw.
So, but Robison had some overthrows as well. But like you guys said, he tried to force it. He was down. He was nervous. He tried to prove everyone wrong and try to take the team back. And that's what you'd expect out of a redshirt freshman. That's perfectly fine. We weren't going to win anyways. Now he has some experience under him for Air Force.
You know what I want to do? I want to go back and find the Buffalo game thread from last year, and I want to find everyone freaking out saying how awful Driscoll played in that game and wanting to go back to Parr.
Yeah.
Driscoll, I'm pretty sure he threw 2 or 3 interceptions in that game.
Yeah.
He really struggled that game when they went back to him. So, now everyone's just, they don't run the offense like Driscoll. And I'm like, bro, a year ago after Buffalo, you guys wanted Driscoll gone.
Yeah.
Just get, everyone talks about Lane being this great coach. Well, part of being a great coach is as the season goes on and things changes, figuring it out.
And you can adapt to that. Exactly.
I just don't see anything different I started last year. I just posted this. Everyone says, we played good the Wisconsin game. And, we made some nice plays that game. But, man, Jonathan Taylor still ran for 230 yards for us. And, again, if I made Kyler Murray the quarterback of Wisconsin and they were more of an up-tempo offense, we lose that game 63-14.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still only scored 14 points in that game. It wasn't as if the offense was a crazy dynamic there either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess what? I remember everyone talking about tackling issues. I remember a play where Jonathan Taylor, I think, broke a tackle on our entire defense in that game.
Yeah. So, there's a couple where he broke 2 at the line of scrimmage, 1 behind, 1 at, 2 in the secondary, and it's
I just give it time. They said they didn't tackle a lot in the fall to keep not even so much players on defense healthy. They want you to keep guys on offense healthy. So, like,
Right.
Lane said this week, he goes, Jake wrote about it. I think Lane was saying this week, he goes, yeah, we got to be more physical. He goes, we have to. The tackling was so poor. I think it's a risk that, every coach outside of maybe 10 programs in the country that don't crap out 5 stars every time someone gets hurt.
Yeah.
Thinks about goes, how physical do we want to play? I watched college football all day, and really outside of a few teams, I saw a lot of poor tackling. I saw poor tackling in the Miami game. You know what I mean?
Right.
A lot of times with these, spread offenses, it's tough.
And another thing to think about, so we kind of mentioned Mona earlier. He still ran for like 69 yards, knowing that every down, like he was the main focus. So I don't think the offense is, to say the offense is not the same, and I don't think that's necessarily going to be an issue. You kind of saw it in the touchdown at the end of the third quarter there, that we ran the offense that we want to run. And also earlier in the game, the plays were working. They were just missed by Robison. So it's not as if we need to, blow up blow up everything on offense. The things are still there. Things are still going to work. Let's, take a step back. Yes, the overhype. Every single person had a higher expectation of what was going to happen. Let's bring it back down. Okay, that was number 7, Oklahoma. Nobody's going to be surprised if Oklahoma makes it to the national championship this year. Right?
No, I think they're a Final Four team.
That's the team that we just played.
Dude,
So
there's no one that threatens them in the Big 12. No
go ahead,
one.
Jack. You're going to say something.
Yeah, so Shane said what? No one in the Big 12 can probably keep up with them. And then I said, I think that might be the best team FAU's ever played in program history.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. They are better than
2013 or 14 Alabama, 2013 Auburn.
Yeah, no, we've never played a quarterback with that. Charlie Partridge year, his first year, he played that Alabama team, but they had with the Florida State transfer at quarterback. He was just a game manager, and Alabama was going to not let anyone score. And they're 31-point favorites over UCLA right now.
Yeah,
for next week.
Yeah. So let's hold all the panic talk. Let's see how we are this week. Even though again it was difficult. Nobody expected that to happen. But Lane's a smart guy. We started 1-3 last year.
He can adapt. He's all right. He knows what he's doing.
So you know what? Though I'd rather just get this stinker out of the way and figure it out, because now you can take a breath and the team could be like, all right, we're not as good as we thought. Right. I'd rather them do it here than at UCF, which I think is a tall order because they looked darn good last week.
Yeah, they looked really good.
Well, you were the one to talk about I can't wait to stop Mackenzie Milton. I'm like, okay, man.
I'm gonna regret that. Yeah.
Well, we've got some time to get there, I think, which is also
I'd just rather lay the stinker here than at Middle Tennessee.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? After you know what I mean? Just be like, I think it was just a brought down to moment earth, but dude, this is the same coaching staff that figured it out last year, or it's the same head coach, the same talented players. They'll figure it out again this year. We were 1-3 last year with a loss to Buffalo.
Yeah.
In a game where their backup quarterback played for 3 quarters.
Yep.
And the board is out here like, is Tony Peck Rock Bellantoni after OU makes us look terrible? Okay, I mean,
let's see how things go moving forward.
Yeah, trust me, you guys know me. I have no problem shredding a coach. It's amazing to me. It took me 2.5 years. It took most people on the board 2.5 years to realize Charlie wasn't good, but you guys are panicking on after this with the staff you can trust.
Yeah.
So,
Keep the faith. We'll be fine. Robison looked really good on that touchdown drive. He was 6 for 6.
Yeah, he could totally again if he settles in, he's
we can do things. Yeah,
there's a reason he was a 4-star quarterback. Yes, that doesn't always transition over to college, but again, him being in the game as long as possible shows that that's the guy that Lane wants moving forward. Let's see how he does this week against Air Force. So moving on. Oh, go ahead, Jack.
No, I was gonna say, speaking of Air Force, I mean that's. Not Oklahoma, but definitely another tough challenge, getting ready for yet another triple option offense. So like Shane said, it is a good thing that we got off our high horse so the team can take this game seriously. Because that's a tough challenge. It's always a tough challenge. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the team can get ready again. They lost their swagger. They hardly had swagger. They didn't have any swagger at all on Saturday. After that first trip. And now they're going to have to really work their ass to get it back.
Well, I mean, think of so FAU we're favored by 7 for those that are interested. So FAU is the favorite here. Could just largely be because we're also at home, and but I mean, think about what happened again in the Oklahoma game. We had a terrible field position to start the game. I'm going to go on a limb and say that doesn't happen this game. A blocked punt for a touchdown, I'm going to say that doesn't happen this game. I mean, there you could account for 14 points. So I think that's the game will certainly be much closer. I think defense will look better because, again, we're not playing Oklahoma and 3 potential Heisman candidates. So,
and we're not going to give up an 85-yard pass either.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to say any of these things. I'm not going to say we're not going to do this or not going to do that. So what we should do.
We should, yeah.
I'm going to say Air Force isn't Navy. They don't run as proficient as Navy. Right now they're swapping quarterbacks. They beat up Stony Brook last week, but they didn't dominate every drive. Like someone posted, I kind of skimmed through the game that they played last week. They had a few turnovers. They actually scored a touchdown on defense. I don't know. I mean, Stony Brook, I guess they're in the Patriot League. I mean, they didn't look like they had a competent quarterback. I think it's going to be obviously it's going to be a long trip for him. The coaches, this game's at 2:00 because our coaching staff asked for it. Okay. I said it on the nest. People were like, why is this game in September? They could have made it at noon, but they wanted to make it a little tougher. They wanted South Florida humidity, but I'm sure it'll just rain the whole afternoon.
Probably.
Anyways,
Yeah.
what's 3 out of 4 home openers? We're just I think the chances are pretty high of that right now.
What's the line for it going to rain come Saturday? For that, because I'm betting it.
I don't want to say it because I want people to buy tickets. Let's just say I might start a fundraiser for a dome here pretty soon.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of excitement. I think I saw it 5:00 driving home that FBU Athletics tweeted out that there was only 500 student tickets left. And it's only Wednesday, and that holds 4,000 or 5,000 somewhere in that nature for student tickets. So there's obviously still a lot of excitement. I think Air Force is bringing a group of cadets, so it'll be a good feel. I think actually our hockey team plays them the night before the game, so it's still kind of a fun name program to have in for a home opener. But again, they're not as talented as Navy. A lot of the preseason rankings had them in the 90s to the low hundreds. So I think we got everything out of our system last week. And, we've seen this before. I mean, we've seen the triple option. They saw it last year, and I think that's going to help.
It's going to help. Couldn't be any worse.
Actually, I thought if you go back to that Navy game, I thought we handled it well for a half. and then the offense was kind of struggling. In the triple option, one of those things you just kind of handle, and then eventually, if you're not scoring and you're down, it just gets to like at the end of the game, you're just, you can go out there to start and you could stop it, but you got to win your battles up front, and you got to do it over and over again.
You're going to get tired eventually. They're always going to get at least 3 or 4 yards on you, and if you don't
you get tired of getting your legs cut every play.
Yeah, and if the offense keeps going 3 and out or keeps snapping the ball above the quarterback's head, to reference Navy last year, what are you going to do? I saw some FAU fans talking, trying to look for a hope when it comes to Air Force, or looking for something to talk about after the Oklahoma game. And they're talking about, Air Force doesn't have a passing offense. I mean, they're a triple option offense, guys. They only threw it 8 times for 2 completions, mind you, but that's what triple option style teams do. That's like Louisiana Tech fans checking FAU stats saying, look at their time of possession. We could beat them because they, hardly have the ball. Well, if they're doing so well running the ball, like they had 3 guys run for over 65 yards, which actually isn't that impressive for a triple option offense, especially against an FCS team like Stony Brook, then but if you're running it that often, you don't have to throw the ball. Like for us, if we're scoring so quickly, we don't need to have, a 30-minute time of possession. We can live with 15 minutes and be A-okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Stop looking at those passing stats, guys, because we're gonna have our hands full stopping their rushers. I think it'll be much easier than Navy, much easier than Oklahoma, but it's still something different. You never know.
I think I read something that a lot of coaches, and it might be give or take a little bit, that when they play the triple option, one of their goals is to have 10 possessions in the game.
Okay.
So they kind of try and set a goal for possessions. If we get to this many possessions, I think we can beat them. Triple option offense, they want you to have like 7-8 possessions of the game.
Right.
Put pressure on you, and the more and more pressure mounts for you to score. And if you don't, you're just like, well, our defense is going back on the field for 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the biggest key, obviously, with the triple option, and I think especially with Air Force, especially if it's a hot, humid day, if we could just manage to get up on them quick, they'll put pressure on them, and you just kind of hope that, like, all right, we're down. It's really hot and humid. We're just not into this today.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, this could also be where the depth that we have at defense could pay off. Is if they
talked about that last
the ball for 7 to 8 minutes, being able to rotate a lot of guys who can who have game experience.
The only thing I was truly concerned about, and granted, again, I gotta remind myself, there's 2 already All-Americans on the OU line, and probably a couple potential more, in the coming years as they get older. But the D line was the worst part of Saturday.
There was no
outside of Stephen Leggett making a couple of plays. They got to show more up front.
Yeah.
Because linebackers, DBs, I mean, it kind of stinks. I really wanted to see our traditional defense again this week, and we were kind of talking about before the podcast. People on the nest were like, we need to stay with our simple defense and not go multiple. And I'm just, man, the best teams in the country run more complicated schemes. And they do that for 2 reasons. One, you can take more chances, run more complicated scheme when you have great players you have faith in. So, maybe like cover someone man downfield, and when you have seniors and people that, can learn, have been there, and we have those things. When you run the simple bend, don't break defense, kind of like we did last year, I mean, that works, but it has a ceiling. There was a lot of games last year where we gave up a lot of yards.
Yeah.
And then Chase Linton would turn over the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just shut them down. So maybe after a few weeks they'll decide to simplify it if it's not working. But can you imagine walking into Nick Saban's office and be like, I think your defense would be better if you simplified things because the guys can't grasp the defense. You know, this is a team with a ton of like guys, seniors and stuff, and guys that have been playing for a long time who should be able to grasp this and know what alley to run.
Yeah.
On a run play and knows what holes they fill. But, you know, it is also very complicated. I watched the Dolphins struggle with which holes they should, you know, which gaps you're getting way more X and O, but, you know, kind of which gap you're responsible for, especially when you're coming from the safeties and all that stuff and your run fits. You watch those guys struggle with it. So, you know, you don't get preseason in college football.
Well, no, that was preseason last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
So Dan, you mentioned depth, defensive side of the ball. So I want to mention that Miko Dodson is out. Jake Elman was the first one I saw that first person I saw report that Dodson corner is out for the year with a hip injury.
Did he even play?
I don't remember. I don't
remember seeing him.
Yeah, we were on the defense was on the field so little because Oklahoma scored so quickly. It was hard to check up there. That and because I was crying half the time. But yeah, D-line is going to have to do much, much, much better against Air Force, or it could be another long day. Who knows if it rains? You know, they can do 8 pass attempts that can go down to 2 pass attempts. We're going to have to wrap up. The D-line's going to have to get in the backfield, or it's going to be a long day. So, anyone else got any more things to add for Air Force?
I think we're ultimately going to win this game. I think we're still more talented than them.
Let's hope.
We should cover. I think we'll win by 13. Do we begin to panic if we win by less than 7?
No.
Do we begin to panic? Do we begin to panic if we lose?
I don't know. I think it really depends how. I also think it's what your goals for the year. Remember what Lane said, and he did so much media leading up to the OU game, and there was one where it almost sounded like he was being sarcastic, but there's part of me where he was like, "Oh, the Joe Rose show down here," and Joe Rose is like, "Oh, you think you got this?" He's like, "No, have you seen their guys and ours?" He's been on the other side of this game more times than not. I think he just knew. I think he was joking to keep expectations down. He was telling his team he could win, but I think he was also really trying to keep expectations down.
Yeah.
I think more than we want to know, and we didn't want to hear it, but Lane was kind of telling us, and Lane was honest last year. And there was a quote going into the Navy game where Lane Kiffin said, "Yeah, I don't think we're really ready for this. I think we're a team that's going to get better throughout the year, especially as we get into conference play."
Yep.
But no one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear "Yeah, our team isn't ready to go out there and play right now. I don't think we're at our best." No one wants to hear that. They just want to spin in their head how they're going to win this week, or just be the complete opposite and we're just going to get killed. No one wants to hear and be like, "Yeah, we might struggle these first few weeks, but by the time we'll be playing our best football by the time the season ends."
Yeah.
No one wants to hear that. I mean, and it happened last year.
Yeah. He was right. So I just hate to beat a dead horse, but we had all these high expectations. Let's just see what happens. I still have the faith. I still believe we can turn things around. Everyone needs to get off the ledge. I feel like we're still the best team in Conference USA, although North Texas looked pretty solid over the weekend.
It's not so much people need to get off the ledge. It's the short memories. It's the Kendall Briles thing is driving me crazy. I've said this 90 times. He lost responsibilities going into week 4 last year, and Lane took more control of the offense, and the offense got better because of it. I don't know why everyone's fretting over Kendall Briles.
It's a nice word, fret. Always been a fan of that.
Well, Houston, who almost lost to Rice this week. It was losing in the fourth quarter.
That was bad.
Yeah, like, they eventually pulled away late, but,
Almost as bad as Old Dominion getting curb stomped to Liberty.
yeah, I mean, I said it before the podcast, I mean, we could be half as good as last year and probably still in the East.
Yeah.
Conference USA is dreadful.
Down.
Especially the bottom half.
Oh, I mean,
even the top half, there's not a single team where you're thinking, wow, this team's got it all. This team.
what is the top half?
Who is it? So North Texas.
Marshall, us. I mean, what? Maybe us. I mean, we still got to prove. We still got to show we're going to get better the rest of the year.
We got to prove it. Is FIU in the top half? Who the hell?
No.
Yeah, but who else would be? Not Western.
No.
I don't think
you're not going to win 4 games this year. Wait till when FIU beats Old Dominion by a touchdown this week. You lost by 10 points at home to Indiana.
Yeah. But so then we're just running out of teams. In order
as good as last year's non-bowl Indiana team. Like, Indiana lost their best receiver, their quarterback.
And their running back, right?
Yeah, they lost a lot of players. And then they had 2 starters suspended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there's going to be a top half and a bottom half. Who's going to make the top half then? Like, we have all these teams that can make the bottom half. Listen, Old Dominion, Western, UTEP, Charlotte. That's 4. Throw in – who do you want to throw in else in there?
I think you're just going to have a really big cluster between 5 and 8 wins. And all those teams are going to be about the same as each other.
And all those teams probably deserve 3 wins if they weren't going to be playing each other.
Yeah, I mean, Charlotte probably won its only game last week.
Yeah.
I mean, Middle Tennessee lost to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt, who was terrible the second half of last year, was like a senior-laden team with a quarterback. Like, that was supposed to be a good Vandy team. Vandy had really low expectations coming into this year. Most people saw them as a 2 or a
yeah. Vandy looked bad.
Team. Yeah, I mean, Vandy lost a lot of guys. I think Vandy started like 5-0 last year. I mean,
yeah, they did until they played Alabama at home, and that's
Yeah, they ruined
their season.
7 in a row.
There's talk of Stockstill being back in the hot seat. I feel like we have this discussion, 3 times a year?
I think they fire him after his son leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only reason they hung on to him this year.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, if they lose to Murray State, if they lose to the Racers.
I don't think they're going to do that. I just think 6-6 football team.
I think they were my pick to win the conference last year. This year, I am not high on them whatsoever. But like you said, the East is really bad this year. We can have a year that doesn't meet our expectations, and we could still probably win the East.
And look at it this way. I think, I think there is good to it. I think the first thing I texted one of my friends who was at the game with Jack, I said, well, Lang's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And especially if UCF goes out there and beats us by 3 touchdowns, and maybe we trip up one other game in Conference USA, no one's gonna
scoop them up, guys. You all, people.
I don't think it's not. So give it more time to build a program. The recruiting's you need kind of the next level of recruiting. You can't just win Conference USA recruiting and be the 72nd best team in the country. You gotta.
You need to build a culture.
You gotta kind of start getting in that 40 to 50 range. That's kind of, if you go look at where like kind of the Boise States and some of the other good Conference USA teams have recruited, they've kind of recruited in that kind of that bubble, not at 72. And, we're tweeting about how we have the best Conference USA class, and it's cool. We out-recruited La Tech. Like,
but, nothing compared to UCF, nothing compared to Boise, Houston, so on and so forth.
Yeah, we got to really, if you want to and you build a program, they got to take kind of the next step.
Yeah, and those players are still young. Like the Zion Gilberts, they're still young. Give them time. We got to give Gerald Hearns, walk on a scholarship, because we're kind of low on Scully players right now, and he was number 2 in the team in rushing against Oklahoma. So
No, I think Kareth White was. Kareth White had that touchdown, but yeah, I just want to get to a point, unless we really have to. We might be in a situation where we're getting ahead of ourselves with the O-line again next year. We'll probably need JUCOs, but man, I do any of them work? Because we're not having good luck with them, and I could start going through JUCOs who haven't produced, like
right.
Jake Bennett, the offensive lineman we got, the center. He wasn't on the 2 deep. Let's see. DeAndre McNeil, 1 catch for 1 yard this game.
Yeah, that screen was really
where is he?
Yeah.
BJ Emmons doesn't make the team. We can go back to the guys that didn't make the team last year. I am just over.
I'd rather go get. I mean, we've done fairly well with grad transfers.
Yeah, those are a little different situation. Those are, I even thought the O-line didn't play terrible that game. They didn't win it. They didn't beat anyone away. But I don't think we took a sack. At least I don't think so. Or there was anything.
1 or 2, I want to say, but they weren't a big deal. Yeah, I don't know. So, kind of going with Conference USA before we sign off, guys, if you allow me, I want to say something about a pretty active member in the Conference USA Twitter sphere, Joe Sahuski. He goes by VA Beach Rep on Twitter. Passed away this weekend, just 40 years of age. He's been to FE before. He's been to Boca. Loved it. He's always said good things about FAU, but he's always said good things about everyone. He was such a nice guy. He left this earth much better than where he found it. That was a quote coming from Jared at Underdog Dynasty, UTSA writer. And that's because he loved to volunteer and he loved to spread a smile. His favorite volunteering and philanthropic work was with local food banks. He would always tweet about helping out local food banks, things of that nature. So I want to give a special plug to Boca Helping Hands right off of campus. I know Shane, when Shane was in Delt, he probably worked there a little bit volunteering. I know I did when I was in API. A lot of FAU students volunteer there in their free time. So for Joe, one of the nicest guys around, one of the nicest guys ever was. If you can just, donate a little something, money, food, or your time to Boca Helping Hands or whatever local food bank near you, be much appreciated.
Joe was a good guy, and I interacted with him on Twitter a lot. He came to FAU in 2000, and I guess it was 16 when ODU played FAU, and he hated Chipotle, and he would always retweet when Chipotle would give people like E. coli and stuff like that. And he once did like a campaign where if people told him they didn't eat at Chipotle, then he would donate $5 to a food bank. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah. And then, he even said one of his most famous tweets was, what was it? If you donate $5 to a local food bank, then he.
Oh, right. That's what it was. Then
he would eat Chipotle, and he have people like record it every single time he did it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Joe would always says would be love each other. He would always sign off every day on Twitter after all of our USA discussions saying love each other. So before we go into next week, just have a perspective of what's really important out there, and make sure you love each other.
That's true. We'll miss you, Joe. So on that bit of a somber note, we'll sign off here, and hopefully next week when we'll be coming back, hopefully the show will be on iTunes by then. I'm working on it, and hopefully we'll get it up on iTunes, and then we'll be celebrating FAU having a better record than they did last year at this time of the year. So for Jack and Shane, we thank you guys for always letting us be a part of your day, and we'll talk to you later. Go Owls.